Hello, I'm Charles Kovess. Welcome to this week's episode of the Charles Kovess Show, whether you're watching on YouTube or on Rumble or listening via podcast. This is episode 139. This week's episode deals with the challenge of teams and groups that are not thriving. It is inspired by the conflicts that are emerging between freedom-loving groups of people and within such groups. There are mega attacks being launched and have been launched against human freedoms, against justice, against the sharing of truth, and against proper and lawful and ethical behaviours. These attacks are being defended by newly created groups of people, but their success is being hampered in a number of ways. Today, I share the 5 crucial elements that need to be established to ensure any group thrives and that each member of those groups is individually successful. I urge you to use these 5 elements in any team or group of which you are a part. Now, this week's episode is somewhat different. I'm not following the normal format. I won't be giving you 6 resources, but at the end of the show, there will be the usual description about my background and the foundational principles of this show. But today, I want to go deeply into this topic because it's an important topic, and unusually, I'll be using a PowerPoint presentation to do so. This will still make sense if you're listening on the podcast, but you'll get greater value if you can also see the PowerPoint presentation. So let's go with these 5 crucial elements. I hope you can see that picture of me on the screen. 5 crucial elements to put in place. So, most groups of human beings struggle to unite successfully. In this presentation, I'm going to show you the 5 crucial elements that are required to unite any group of men and women. Without these 5 elements, the team members continue to primarily focus on and pursue their own individual interests. Without these 5 elements, team members are much more likely to have both internal and external conflicts amongst stakeholders and amongst themselves. The 5 elements are the crucial and necessary glue that binds unique human spirits together effectively and continually. And this applies to sporting groups, to political groups, to freedom-loving groups, to business groups, to teams within groups. I've done this work for the last 30 plus, in fact 40 plus years with a whole range of groups, and I promise you the 5 elements are crucial, and when you use them, they work. So, number 1 is purpose, and to give you a framework for thinking about it, I'm going to go through these 5 elements as purpose, vision, goals, strategies, and values. So number 1, purpose. What is the purpose of establishing the group? Another word that's often used is the word meaning. What's the meaning of what the group has been established to do or achieve or create, or the problem it's intended to solve? The purpose of the group is meant to be fulfilled each and every day. It's the driving force for all activities by the team members. And the job of leaders is to keep reinforcing, hey, remember the purpose of why we are doing this. The vision. What's the vision that the group has articulated that it can see that it wishes to create? What does it want to build? Does it see a global organization with lots of money, or is it just a local community that doesn't need money, that won't have money, but it's achieving certain outcomes? The Bible in the Old Testament articulates the value of a vision very simply. Without a vision, the people perish. And there's another principle that I've used over the years. When one thing unites us, It overcomes all the things that divide us. And as human beings, we have lots of things that divide us. But when we're all barracking for the same sporting team, that we love the people who barrack for the same team as us, even though we're so different. Or if we go to a concert to see a wonderful presentation, a wonderful performance, we're so friendly and loving towards the people. We're all jointly enjoying the same thing. When one thing unites us, it overcomes all of our differences. The vision should not be more than 10 words, and it should be something that inspires team members to work towards, something that can reasonably be achieved between 3 and 10 years. Note, there is much confusion about the words vision and mission. And the framework of these five crucial elements overcomes this confusion. And the key in any group is to remove as much confusion as we're able to do. That's what these 5 elements do. Then we have goals. Goals are practical, clear, and measurable steps along the way to achieving the vision, whilst each day the purpose of the group is being fulfilled by each team member. Okay, so the purpose, you've got the team members thinking about the purpose, but we're taking the goals are the steps to get that vision, but it doesn't mean we're not fulfilling our purpose. Purpose is what drives daily behavior. Now, human beings are comprised of mental, spiritual, and physical elements. Goals can be outcome goals or action goals. For example, an outcome goal by a parent might be to have a wonderful relationship with a child, and an action goal can be to have dinner at 6 p.m. with that child on 3 occasions each week. Another example of that would be in your sporting endeavours. You might say, my goal is to run a marathon. That's an outcome goal. But an action goal would be, my goal is to run 6 days a week, because you want to run a marathon. But you can put that in your goals, and there's nothing much rests on this, just it clarifies what it is that you're going to be choosing to be doing. And one of my goals is to make sure I drink enough coffee. What a wonderful cup of coffee Julie makes for me. Now, because human beings are made up of mental, physical, spiritual elements, goals should be identified in these same 3 categories. So mental goals for a group or an organization are non-physical goals. They comprise such matters as processes, systems, client lists, computer programs, intellectual property, branding, learning and development programs, and marketing. Physical goals comprise such matters as premises, plant and equipment, computers, cash, motor vehicles, office furniture. And then spiritual goals for a group comprise such matters as team spirit, observance of the group's values, the quality of relationships between team members, and relationships with and between all stakeholders, the reputation of the group, the depth of love and caring by outsiders towards the group, levels of fun within the group, and the strength of the human bonds between team members in particular. Then, whilst you have these 3 categories of goals, then goals should also be identified as short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals. If I'm working with a sporting team or a company, I would suggest short-term goals are 3 to 12-month goals, medium-term goals are 1 to 3 year goals, and long-term goals are more than 3 year goals. Strategies. There are many erudite, lengthy books written by many learned professors and consultants that explore the many varied aspects of strategy. They're great to read, but they get so complex that people get so caught up in the complexity of the debate, they forget really, hey, what really is our strategy? I say in simple, usable terms, strategies are simply the ways in which the goals will be achieved by the team members and the group. What can we do to achieve our goals? The answers to these questions will comprise the group's strategies. Tactics, and you've often heard the question, hey, this person thinks tactically instead of strategically. Tactics are the various action steps that need to be taken to pursue a strategy. By way of example, if the strategy is to market an idea to a group of dentists, a tactic is to buy a list of dentist details from a list broker to enable that marketing to happen. Strategies are the steps to achieve the goals. The goals are the steps to achieve the vision, whilst at all times pursuing the group's purpose. The fifth crucial element of the 5 crucial elements is values. And the values of the group are the principles and philosophy that guide and govern the day-to-day behaviours of the team members. The values are the principles that are most valued by the founders of the group, and then they can be further developed with input by the members of the group. Values are such principles as honesty, commitment, passion, caring, and excellence. I've got a list of some 75 different values, but my recommendation is to not have more than, is to really limit it to seven values, because people can't keep 75 values in their brains, and we each have to make value judgments. Which values am I going to, when I'm going to take an action? I can't think of 75 values. I need to make value judgments amongst a small choice. The leaders and team members of the groups must enforce and observe the values daily. Many teams fail because of the failure to act consistently with the published values of the group. Leaders come out and say, here's our values, and then as soon as it's going to cost money, they ignore the values. That is soul destroying, spirit destroying, group destroying. So, how do we use these 5 elements? When the 5 elements of purpose, vision, goals, strategies, and values are articulated and adopted, the team members must learn them, must commit to them, and must guide their behaviours consistently with them. Leaders of the group and each sub-team within the group, and if I'm working with a big company, there are clearly divisions within the groups led by, within any big company, led by different leaders. Well, leaders of each of those divisions must reinforce the knowledge and understanding of the 5 elements. Discussions of the 5 elements must be a high priority in team meetings. If you don't discuss these issues, then clearly they're not important. I say they're crucially important. That's why they're 5 crucial elements. There will always be confusion and lack of understanding and alternative interpretation of words. Human beings interpret words differently. In society, we're debating what the difference is, whether the word man or woman means anything. I say they do. But if that's the level of conversation going on in society, imagine what it is when you're talking about the word commitment, for example, by way of a value. If there is confusion, there is less commitment by team members. My mantra is confusion kills passion. On the other hand, when team members are clear about the 5 elements, they can commit to them. And so clarity leads to power. When you are clear about the game that you're playing, you become personally much more powerful. Each team member becomes much more powerful. The group becomes much more powerful, much more likely to succeed. A team of men and women committed to the 5 crucial elements becomes that magical creation described as a great or outstanding or world-class team. It's a wonderful, wonderful and quite rare experience to be a member of such a team. I've been a member of such teams. It is truly worth the effort. It is worth fighting and kicking and scratching to be part of such a team. So let's apply the 5 elements, and this is by way of, this is going to help you, whilst I'm focused on freedom fighting groups, any group that you're a part of. It can be a church group. These elements, these guideline will help you think about how you would put this theory into practice. But I'm focusing now on freedom fighting groups because our human freedoms are under attack. Attacks on truth, on justice, on ethics, on health are happening everywhere. And there are new groups that have been formed, and I want these groups to function well within themselves and then to function between themselves. And we can have healthy disagreements, but what happens is when these 5 crucial elements are clear, then it helps to overcome the differences. We are united back because of our powerful vision, and because the one thing that unites us, the vision, or another, the purpose, it overcomes our differences, our upsets with each other. And we are human. Just think about, your spouse, how many conflicts you have with your spouse or your loved ones. SH1T happens. We need to be able to get over it. That's why these crucial elements work. So, here's an example. What would be the purpose of a freedom fighting group? Here's an example. The purpose is to fight for freedom, justice, truth, health, and ethical principles for all men and women. Very clear. Every morning you wake up, you think of this. Hey, that's the purpose of why we're doing what we're doing. What's our vision? The vision is this, and it's in present tense rather than future tense. People observe and embrace their respective country's national constitution. Such a vision, and then that's less than 10 words. People observe and embrace their respective country's national constitution. And this means that within 3 to 5 years, national governments comply with and follow their constitutions that have been established over many decades. You don't have to you don't have to go to ground zero and start to build a society again. These freedom fighting groups want the constitutions to be observed in their intent, in their spirit, and not to be desecrated by politicians. What might be the goals of such a freedom fighting group? Here's an example of them. To keep this presentation, at a reasonable length, I haven't gone into more detailed goals in the mental, physical, spiritual space, but you'll understand how you can do that. So, goals of the group. Members have greater understanding of all aspects of attacks on human freedoms. Second goal, members have increased understanding of issues relevant to our purpose and vision. Thirdly, members take action and initiate projects in their own communities or areas of interest to fight for freedom, justice, truth, health, and ethical principles. Fourth goal, create a database of members who are willing to contribute as volunteers or financially to the actions or projects of other members. Fifthly, create a database of other freedom-loving groups that are aligned with our purpose and vision. And sixthly, our membership increases to 5,000. Very clear, specific goals. So then, what are the strategies? What action steps do we take to achieve these goals on the way to achieving our vision of helping our national constitution be properly observed by our governments, by our politicians, by our bureaucrats? Well, number one, conduct twice weekly online meetings of members with guest presenters. Secondly, remember action steps, educate our members on all aspects of attacks on human freedoms. Thirdly, educate members on issues relevant to our purpose and vision. Fourthly, inspire members to take action and initiate projects in their own communities or areas of interest to fight for freedom, justice, truth, health, and ethical principles. Fifthly, to market the value of our group to select people to increase our membership. And then sixthly, to share our purpose and vision with the most influential guest speakers so they're keen to present to the group's meetings. So there are a series of action steps that will help us achieve those goals. And then the values. These values will help group members build relationships amongst themselves and in turn inspire group members to teach appropriate values to other groups of which they're members. The suggested values are free speech, respect for other human beings. And free speech is crucial because if we're a freedom fighting group, then limiting free speech is totally counter to fighting for freedom, because if you limit free speech, that's the beginning of the end of freedom. So we have respect for each other. Freedom is a crucial value. Justice, right? So within the group, we live according to just principles. Truth. If we're fighting for truth externally, we need to have a high value of speaking truth within the group. And then ethical behaviour. And of course, the whole topic of ethics is remarkably complex, and then that would then obviously require ongoing discussions. Hey, what is ethical? What isn't? So they're the 5 crucial elements. These 5 elements of purpose, vision, goals, strategies, and values are the simple and effective way to ensure your group thrives and succeeds at the same time as each team member thrives and succeeds. You see, you want a team member who comes on board with the group, who commits to these 5 crucial elements, and then what happens is a person commits to it because it serves their own interests. It's their own life journey. I want to be part of this group. The strategies are deliberately simple along the lines of Albert Einstein's suggestion. Make things as simple as possible, but no simpler. After 40 plus years of using these 5 elements, I know they work. Most groups fail to use these 5 elements, and hence they fail to achieve outcomes of substance. Big companies are failing left, right, and centre. I'll give you an example of this because they don't use these 5 crucial elements. I know because I've been in business for over 40 years and I see it happen. Leaders talk crap about values and then ignore them. 40% of the Fortune 500 companies in the US have disappeared in the last 30 years. Remarkable changes. Groups that do not apply these 5 crucial elements fail. So there's further information available on the screen. So that's today's Charles Kovess show. These 5 crucial elements, think about any group that you've been a part of in the past that hasn't succeeded, and look at where it failed in applying these 5 crucial elements. I repeat, being part of a highly successful team where the team members love and care for each other is such a magical place to be in. And groups that create that space then relate well to other groups that are similarly fighting for similar causes. When you look at top sporting teams, they break down because one of these 5 crucial elements is not in place. So for those of you who are regular viewers and listeners, I'm not going to give you 6 resources today because this will otherwise be too lengthy. I'm not going to review the week. We'll go back to our normal format next week. And for those of you who are new to the show, the background principles or the foundational principles of this show will now follow, and also further details about my background. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I wish you a week of passion, of challenge, of nourishment, of fun, of ever-increasing self-awareness for the life that you wish to live. If you enjoy this show, please share it with others, please subscribe, and I look forward to being with you next week. Bye for now. And now, for viewers and listeners who want to know more about my background and what else I do with my life, as well as the foundational principles of the show. Here we are. Since 1993, when I left my legal career, a career that I love, to become Australasia's passion provocateur, I have inspired and provoked and educated and motivated people all over the world to discover and pursue their passion. I have helped people via the books that I've written, via speeches at conferences, via in-depth team building programs, workshops over 1, 2 or 3 days, or over 3 months, 6 months. And I've coached people of all ages, one-on-one, from small, medium and large enterprises, government enterprises, helping them to identify the often tiny changes that can make a massive difference. One of my core principles is that freedom is what makes us truly human. That's why one of the greatest threats that government imposes on you to force you to observe its laws is the threat of imprisonment, the loss of your freedom. Just think about that. Government says if you don't behave yourself, we're going to put you in jail. No, I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to lose my freedom. That's a reminder to you of why freedom is so important. Without freedom, you and I are not much different to animals. If you were locked up in a cage for the rest of your life, how different would you be to an animal? This commitment to fighting for freedoms for all people is carried out by me primarily through 5 channels. Number 1, preserving the freedom to pursue your passion. Number 2, inspiring you to be able to be free through excellent health. Number 3, helping preserve freedom throughout the world through the expansion of industrial hemp, a magnificent agricultural crop, an almost miraculous crop that enables every community to thrive independently of government. In this way, the power of government to take away freedom is minimized. Number 4, fighting for freedom through legal strategies. So I do work as a legal strategy consultant, as an interface between clients and their lawyers. And number 5, as chairman of the Australian Institute of Comedy and as a board member of the Australian Cartoon Museum, fighting for the freedom of thought and speech through uncensored comedy and humour, through avoiding political correctness in the comedic space. When you block freedom of speech, freedom of thought, that's the beginning of the end of your freedoms. The foundational principles for the Charles Covess Show are founded on the formula SA plus P equals S. Your self-awareness added to your passion will guarantee that you are successful. And the best definition of success I have found in life is that success is the progressive realization of your worthy ideals. The progressive realization of your worthy ideals. This show is also guided by Socrates' famous principle and quote, "The unexamined life is not worth living." You can see I'm wearing my red jacket. I wear my red jacket for all my shows. Red is the color of passion, so that when you see me on the YouTube version, it reminds you that when you see red in your life, you ask yourself the question, am I pursuing my passion? What am I passionate about? Am I still passionate about that? What might I newly be passionate about? Each week I explore one big idea that can change your life. And it's just one big idea because there's a chance you will remember it. If I give you too many ideas, then we get confused and we don't do anything. Clarity leads to power. Confusion kills passion. Each week I share simple and practical resources that you've heard me describe in the earlier part of the show. A spiritual tip, a health tip, lyrics of a song, a book, a quote, and of course humour. This show is not politically correct. I have no intention of being politically correct. And I love certain addictions, including my addiction to great coffee, my addiction to exercise, my addiction to reading, and my addiction to certain other unmentionable in public type behaviours. Who would know what they are? This show definitely subscribes to the view that we have a spiritual life. So if you don't like discussion of spirituality, this show is not for you. I promise you that I don't include anything in this show that I don't consider to be true and that I have not found to be useful in the work that I've done over the past 28 years, but also over the past 50 years in business, as a lawyer, as a consultant advisor. I only want to share stuff with you that is of value to you. Finally, if you have any questions or suggestions, please feel free to contact me at charles@covess.com. Again, thanks for watching and listening to my show. Bye.